Hey there, this is RushJet1, the guy who makes all the music for the PewDiePie Super Simulator videos, along with all the Mega Man stuff. Um, Basically, I wanted to make a video where I just go over how I made the actual cover for the Congratulations song, because I wanted to do this for Ricky and Vicky too, but I just haven't really had time because it's going to be a massive, like, probably hour-long video or something. So I thought this would be a lot quicker. Just kind of go over my process, what I do when I have to do a cover song like this. So the first thing you do, obviously, is you listen to the original, which is going to be here. So
T-Series! Yeah! It's your big day!
So, I gotta sit there and go, okay, I'll probably listen through the whole thing, but I'm not gonna necessarily do everything all at once. So, I'm probably going to sit back here and go.
T-Series!
So, those horns there, in Famitracker here is the program I use. It's for 8-bit music, mostly NES. I'm going to probably try to map this to one of the VRC6 channels, and it uses pretty similar sounds, so it's the same notes, So you can kind of get where I'm going with this one, where it's basically, So I'm basically inputting the keys on my keyboard using this diagram here. So you have to see see up here, two different octaves down on the bottom and the top, and another sort of half octave up here on the top left or top right. So you just type in like a keyboard kind of using these keys. So you basically just type it in. So anyway, you got this now. That's the basis of the entire song, basically. I mean, we could repeat this a lot. Then basically you just do that for everything else. Like when it comes with the melody.
To tell you!
Congratulations!
So, you'd put that somewhere down here. You can create new patterns. So once you're done with this one, it goes to the next one. Right, we gotta use this instrument. Etc. Like, you can kind of hear that in this that I've just written. So I've got a few things prepared up here. This is one of the earlier drafts that I did of this track. So it's a lot more basic. It doesn't have a lot of the instrument sounds to it. This is sort of like a recreation of that because I couldn't actually drag up the file. But here's what it sounded like kind of a lot earlier. So you get the idea. Basically, these over here, these kind of like trumpet sounds, aren't nearly as refined as they are on the final one. It's just like a flat volume curve. It starts here and just kind of slides right on down to 0. And the pulse width just stays at 0, so it just constantly makes the same sound. So I actually have this in steps. I added another bass channel, which is pretty normal. I do this all the time. So instead of just this sound, you also have the other sound on top of it. It makes it sound a lot more clean and clear. Also, this one can have volume, so it kind of makes it sound a little more accented. With this one, though, with the brass, I've actually changed the shape of the volume on this one a lot, so it kind of ramps up real fast, and then it kind of goes down a lot faster than the other one did. This is not actually the final one that I chose for the song either, but it's a lot closer. So it sounds a little bit closer, but the problem is that it's missing the high end. The other one kind of sounds like it's doing octaves, and it just doesn't have that much punch at the beginning still, and it fades out really fast. And the other one kind of does too, but for the chiptune version here, I'm not sure that's really that good of an idea. So we're going to try looking at the actual one. So on this one, I have this similar ramp up at the beginning, but then it ramps back down here, and then it slowly goes down. So kind of have like a sound. Also, the beginning has this little ramp of the different timbres I can play. So, 1, 2, 3, and a bunch of zeros, which aren't really necessary because it just keeps playing the same thing. So this would be the same. So you basically just go through and put all the notes down, how they should sound. Some of them are directly the same, like I mean, that stuff is almost exactly note for note for the actual song. It even is a square wave in the original song, so that's pretty easy to translate. So at this point, these channels are emulating the kind of like low brass sounds that are going on in the song, and they're like the other ones, except they're a lot shorter in terms of duration. So it would sound like that. These actually have a voice applied to them in the track, so I mean it would be the same as me taking this and saying 2. So that's what they're basically doing. And they're doing kind of a phasing effect. These P commands are pitch. So P80 is normal. So 7B and 84 are going to be like 4 values off in each direction. So it's 2 notes sort of playing really close to 1 note, but it's not quite the same thing. So yeah, that's basically the gist of how I was able to cover this track in general. Some parts were pretty difficult, I guess. One was trying to get the tempo right. So the NES runs at 60 frames per second or 60 hertz. And what that does, or what that means, is that 60 things can happen per second. You can change that, but the standard amount that people are going to be writing music with is 60 frames a second. So these F commands over here kind of are saying how many frames, or 1/60th of a second periods, are actually playing during this line. So this one has 7, this one has 6, 7, 6, 7. So you can see it's kind of 3 7s, a 6 7 6 7 6 7 7 7. Like, it seems kind of messed up, and that's because I'm trying to exactly match the tempo, and the tempo doesn't really line up with either of these numbers. So I'm just kind of substituting numbers in a pattern. I think the pattern is, yeah, it's this long. So 777 67 676. And it does that throughout the entire song, and that actually matches up almost exactly. So I think it's like 100 and, oh, you can see it down here. Maybe you can. I'm not sure if the video is actually picking that up. At the bottom, it said it was 138 BPM. So that's what that's showing. So yeah, if I do this for Ricky and Vicky, it's gonna be a lot more in depth. There's a whole lot more stuff that I developed and basically wrote programs to actually get around a lot of the limitations of that system. This was just a straight cover into NES. What I do with this is you can just export the file and then go into the projects and play the file back, which is going to be one of these. Like Craniac is there. It's going to be like eventually put into an NSF and eventually dumped out here in the wave dump thing. Let's see. So if I open it, it'll open in a program called NSF Play, and that's going to add the stereo. So normally FamiTracker and the NES don't have stereo at all. You can add it in emulators like this one. If you go into the settings and then go to channel mixer, you can see down here VRC6, 0, and 1. One of them is pen left, the other one's pen right. And for me, that's pretty much always the case. This is always going to be left. This is always going to be right. That's how I normally make music. So you can do all kinds of fun effects that way. This track doesn't really do a lot. The only one it does is probably this part. Yeah. which isn't really even doing that much in terms of the stereo effect, but it doesn't have the same effect as the rest of the track. And these things are just delaying, so they kind of, it's supposed to sound kind of like a piano. And again, I'm basically just trying to make it sound that way because it's how people play piano a lot of the time. I mean, it's kind of me emulating that sound. So yeah, this track was just a lot of going through the song, making sure I'm getting the little cymbal hits right, that kind of stuff. For a long time in this track, I actually didn't have the cymbals down at all, so I kind of missed out on that. I had to go back and you'll see up here whenever I'm going around, and you can see it in the view on the left up here. Some of these light up when I'm on them, like this. All these 1s and 6s basically are lighting up. That means that these, like you can see this square is lit up when I'm on this square here and the noise, and it kind of correlates to where I'm clicking. That's because they're just repeated. So if I change something here, like if I do that, by accident or even by design, so it's going to change the drum beat like that. It's going to do it for every single one that uses that. If we scroll down again, there it is again. And if we go down to like an entirely different part of the song, way down here, it's still going to be here because I've already used it over and over again. That actually is part of the reason why, or it's kind of the reason why that clap sound was in the original Beach Lasagna song, because I put it in and I did this sort of thing where I basically just copied the same thing over and over, but not like this. I think at the other one it's more like 1 2 1 2, something like that. But I heard it and I was like, well, that's kind of neat. I guess I'll just keep it because the drums really don't do a whole lot different in that track, so I just decided to keep it in. But then people noticed, and I'm like, oh well. So when I did the actual cover of that track with the vocals, I edited that all out and basically made the drums as close to the original as possible. So I think that's about it at this point. This is sort of like a really brief overview, and if you don't know anything about 8-Bit Music or FamiTracker, you can just check it out. It's a free program. It's pretty decently easy to use for beginners. I think I might do some kind of tutorials on it later, but at this point I don't have a lot of time to be doing that kind of stuff in a coordinated way. At least I'll just basically be sitting here talking like I am right now. So